Live from Scope Towers, it's the Moviescope podcast with your hosts, Scott.
Why did I think he was called Pure?
And Alice.
Like, I'd be a terrible movie reviewer. Long time no see.
Hello again. It feels like only yesterday since I was last here and we were recording this, but I'm back again.
Absolutely, here we are again. Here we go again, boys.
Here we go again. Are you gonna start paying me more for these double shifts that I'm doing? Overtime?
I don't think so just yet. No.
No? Are
No,
you
you've
gonna
got to
start
prove
paying me at
yourself.
all?
That is yet to be seen. We'll see how well you do after this one.
Okay. I
And
don't
then,
think it's gonna. Well, it can't be much worse than the film that we watched.
Oh, that is very true. I think we did manage to find one of the worst
One
films.
of the worst. Not quite the worst, because what was the worst one?
The Open House, I believe,
Oh.
with a 3.2. We watched Deadly Detention, which has a 3.4.
For these high school students, the jock, the all-star, Miss Popular, the outsider, and the punk.
Welcome to detention, boys and girls.
Wanna cuff me, Hall Cop?
It was a Saturday club they didn't want to join.
So not much better.
Point 2 makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
It was an instant classic, this one.
I personally actually thought that this... No, it was better than The Open House, actually. I just couldn't face watching that film again, because it was terrible. But yeah, I mean, there were... I'm just going to dive straight into it. I think that there were actually some good aspects of Deadly Detention.
Some redeeming qualities.
In the last 10 minutes of the film.
Oh, okay. Only in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, so
Just before you dive in,
Yeah.
can we get a synopsis?
Oh, yeah, that would be that would be handy, wouldn't it? Yeah, just no one can know about the film unless you've seen it. No, so what did happen in Deadly Detention?
I've got it written down here on my notes. I've got Deadly Detention is a 2017 film directed by Blair Hayes. I researched this director afterwards, and the only thing of any note, that feels quite rude. I was going to say the only thing of any note that this man has ever done in his career, just completely go out there and just slander the hell out of him. But
don't hold back.
He had an honorary mention, a thank you, in the credits of an Austin Powers film in 1995.
Oh my god! So
that was the only film that I'd heard of, other than obviously Deadly Detention, that I recognised on his IMDb page.
Oh.
But yeah, so that's Blair Hayes, ladies and gents. Check him out, good lad. Lee looks cool.
Oh well, I mean that's all that matters, I suppose.
But yeah, back to the actual film. I've written down 5 high school students must spend their Saturday working during detention. When a sadistic madman kills their principal, the teens must put aside their differences and find the way to outsmart their assailant before he murders them one by one.
Ooh.
I've made it sound half decent.
You have made it sound pretty good.
If I was listening to this and I heard that description of a film, I would think, Jesus,
give it
that
a
sounds
watch.
pretty solid. Spoiler alert, it wasn't.
Yeah, don't let that synopsis fool you, because it was absolute trash. I just thought that they were the most typical characters ever. Like, it was just... I think it was meant to be, because... So, I think the first sort of 40... It's only an hour and 25, so the first, 45 minutes of the film, I thought were sort of just trying to be sort of your average teen horror film.
Yeah.
And I just thought that it was awful. But within the last sort of 15-20 minutes, it does just become the most ridiculous comedy horror. And I feel like had they stuck with that from the beginning, it would have been a much better film. But because only the last 10 minutes of the film sort of give you the idea that it is a comedy horror, the first 45 minutes just seem like ridiculously bad content to me.
The film was just, it was bizarre because there was no horror elements.
There
It was
wasn't,
they
actually.
they advertised it as a horror film. They mentioned ghosts. There was obviously the girl that was screaming about it being ghosts, and then 10 seconds later she was saying that ghosts aren't real. Like the writing of the film was just trash. I
Yeah.
blame Blair. But it was a really bizarre watch. It was quite a surreal experience to
It
watch it,
was.
especially towards the end when the character Jessica started like dancing.
That moment really made me stop for I had to pause it after that happened and just kind of collect myself, because I was like, what on earth is happening here?
It was just because you messaged me saying there's a bit coming up that you're going to absolutely love.
I think I was like
Because-
10 minutes
yeah,
ahead of
because you were a bit ahead of me, and I just sat there on the edge of my seat for the next 10 minutes just waiting for this bit. And because I kept laughing because this was towards the end, and obviously towards the end it was just ridiculous. So I was sitting there just waiting for this to happen. I kept laughing, thinking, oh, was that it? Was that it? And then suddenly they're just walking down the corridor. She puts her weapon down on the floor and starts dancing.
Doing like a little cheerleading
Yeah,
routine
like
that she
cheering herself on. It was just so. But there were, I don't know. There were quite a few bits where 1 minute they were being serious about what was going on and the fact that there was someone trying to kill them, but then the next minute they were joking. There was no. It was either all out horror in
Yeah.
inverted commas or all out comedy. There was no.
exactly, yeah.
It seems as though there was a real struggle to kind of mesh the two genres together. It was
Absolutely, yeah.
all or nothing. But then even when it was trying to be serious, it was hilarious because it was so bad.
Exactly that. I think I get it after I've watched it, or I started to get it definitely, or what they were trying to do,
What were they trying to do?
make it funny towards the end sort of 15 minutes of the film. But because they didn't make it so obvious in the first 45 minutes, you really just think that it is a terrible film with
Yeah.
terrible actors, terrible characters, because at the end it's so exaggerated that you just realise, oh no, it is actually meant to be this ridiculous film. But because the first section of the film isn't actually that exaggerated in the way of like comedy, you just think this is the worst film I've ever seen in my life, because it does seem like they are trying to be serious, sort of, as you say, horror in inverted commas, actors, but it's just terrible because there's that bit quite near the start where they think that the principal has been killed, and they just walk around like it's a minor inconvenience.
Yeah,
Like-
it's like when she comes up to the door and she's banging on the door, begging to be let into this room, and they're just looking at her like, nah.
Yeah.
And then I've never seen such poorly produced fake blood, because you can't tell me that someone didn't just put a spoon in like a jam jar and flick it onto the window
It does look
and then
like
quickly
raspberry jam.
wipe it around when no one was looking.
Yeah, no, that is exactly what it looks like's happened. And then there's like, you don't see it, but they're like, there's meant to be a pool of blood like coming through underneath the
Yeah,
door.
they never showed any.
They-
They
yeah.
never showed any gore
No.
or any of the death scenes. You never actually saw anything.
Yeah.
I tried to find out what the budget was for this film earlier on, and I literally couldn't find anything. I'm assuming they had like £2.50 to spend, because there was
One
no.
of them
'cause-
happened to own a prison.
yeah, because there were no effects or anything
Yeah.
remotely gory,
Yeah.
and but it was rated. I think it was rated like a 15 on Netflix,
Oh,
or
really?
even maybe.
I think that was probably because of the sexual references, though, because there were many of those.
But there was no.
which-
I don't know. I wouldn't. If I had a child, I'd possibly let them watch it.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly,
Just because nothing
yeah,
happened.
Nothing did happen. It was
One nitpick that I had was every now and then they like panned out and showed you the prison, and the prison had a car park, and the car park was always full.
oh yeah, it's meant to be abandoned, isn't
Yeah.
it?
But the car park was literally always full. When they drove into the car park, obviously on their school bus, it was empty. But whenever they did a
Right.
pan shot out, there's a car park off to the right.
It's like they've used
Full
it
of
from
cars.
from a documentary or
Yeah,
something.
that's
They've
what
just-
it looked like. And the exterior shots, did you notice the exterior shots that they showed each time? So they would show like, oh, we're in a different part of the prison. And they would just like stick a still image of like a watchtower up on the screen.
Yeah.
But then the insides look nothing like what you imagined.
Yeah.
It looked like they were constantly in a gymnasium.
Yeah, yeah, no, and the inside's obviously quite dark and gloomy, and then on the outside it's bright sunshine.
Yeah.
They've made no attempt to make the prison look any kind of spooky on the
Yeah,
outside
they were
at
there
all.
like,
it was just
and because they kept mentioning this prisoner that got left behind as well, but that never tied back to anything.
no.
There were
that's
just
true.
lots of I don't know. There were just lots of bits that were mentioned that were then never picked up on again, and it was just.
I also want to just mention how bad the music was.
Oh yeah, no,
It was-
I thought
did
that
you-
when I
did you
was
notice
watching
that?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
felt
that
like
was-
it felt like something that Blair had made on GarageBand.
Do you know what I thought it felt like? The whole thing felt like sort of either secondary school or like early college students would make.
I felt like a secondary school student would do better.
Given the same budget,
That's
they
what-
probably would have.
I thought that's why I was trying to find the budget, because I wanted to say, give me X amount of money and I'll make you a better film than that.
Yeah.
And I've got the imagination of a peacock. I've just got there's nothing up there. No imagination.
I mean, I can't confirm or deny peacocks being imaginative. I'm
No.
sure they must,
I'm sure they've got very vivid imaginations.
Yeah, absolutely. They may
If
well
their
do.
if their imaginations are as vivid as their tails, feathers,
Tail feathers.
their tail feathers, then they've got great imaginations.
Yeah, they have to have great imagination for the dances they do. But yeah, at the beginning, I've written on my notes, not even funny bad, because there's some films that are just so bad that they're funny, but for me, the first I don't know 25 to half an hour of the film was just so bad that I couldn't even laugh at it. I was
No.
just like, this is terrible. And then as soon as sort of, I don't know, the characters were cheerleading when Jessica started doing that, I thought, no, this has to be some sort of
But
parody.
it was even slightly before that though, wasn't it? Because it just the lines in the film just got more and more ridiculous as it
Yeah,
as it went on.
There's that part where Barrett, was it? Barrett said what was his
So
line?
I wrote this
Haters gonna
down.
hate, Barrett's always
Yeah,
great.
haters gonna hate, but Barrett's always great.
That was,
And then
yeah,
and
that
then-
was before.
and then not long after that, he got his head smashed through the glass, and the characters come back. The two female leads, Jessica and Lexi, the Megan Fox wannabe. They come back. They see his body through the glass, and I think it was Jessica said, he just wanted to die hot, but he looks awful. And
yeah, that was it.
there was no remorse over the fact that this guy was dead. They weren't even scared that they'd seen a dead body.
No.
There was no screaming or reaction to that. They were more devastated that the great Barrett beret died unhot.
I think the more sort of ridiculous it got, the more I started picking out the ridiculousness of it, and the more I started to enjoy it. But at first I was just angry. I was just watching it like, what on earth is happening?
I can't even say that I didn't enjoy it, because I did. I did enjoy it. I think I would watch it again.
Yeah.
If I was feeling down, I think I'd watch it again.
It was very funny.
Because I think they should have gone just all out comedy.
Yeah,
they should have scrapped the horror, and it would have been. But then maybe it's the fact that I thought it was going to be a horror and it turned out to be a comedy. Maybe that's why I found it so funny.
Oh, maybe. I feel like had they been as ridiculous as they were in the last part of the film at the beginning, it would have been like an all-round quite a good film. Well, not all-round because the filming was terrible, but like, you know, the story would have been a lot better, and they would have sort of found their feet with it, I think.
Because the actual story was weird as well, wasn't it? Because they went there for detention, and then it was so predictable. It was just everything was so predictable, and because they show the first scene is the coach driver, he looks down at like a shrine of a pupil. I just assumed it was like his daughter anyway. My initial thought was that all of these kids had bullied his daughter and he made them go to detention, and he was going to be like, oh, this is what you get for bullying my daughter and things like that. And it did kind of come round to that, but it was there were elements of the daughter's suicide in the film. There were elements of parental abuse from the father towards the daughter that killed herself in the film. It just felt like those were two serious topics to be making a satirical parodied film about.
That is true, actually.
Blair took that and went, do what I want.
Suicide,
parental abuse, hilarious.
It did have aspects of that, I'm not gonna lie. It did make me grit my teeth a little bit at the end, just from a little bit of awkwardness. But I mean, if you sort of take away from those topics,
it's quite hard not to.
Which, you know, isn't always the best thing to do. But if those topics had sort of been left out, I feel like he definitely would have. They weren't needed really in the film.
They put them in there for the caretaker's story. To show why he was killing everyone, but it just didn't. And
it was just, as you say, it's just a bit tone deaf, a little.
And I feel as though they tried to make it almost a twist that it was the caretaker that was killing people. But the only characters you get shown are the 5 kids at the beginning, who are the most generic characters ever. You've got like your generic high school jock, your generic hot Megan Fox wannabe,
the athlete, or like the nerdy athlete. Exactly.
And then you've got the weirdo, the silent weirdo, and then you've got your black guy as well. And then I liked his character.
He was
cool. Well, one thing that I found funny was they made him gay, and then the way that they brought it across that he was gay is that they bejazzled his Bible.
Oh yeah. They just put some sparkles on the Bible. Yeah.
They just made his Bible really glittery, and they were like, "Yeah, he's gay."
I mean, his shoes were really quite something as well, weren't they?
They were, but they felt quite impractical considering they were trying to hide from a murderer in a prison.
I think that was probably part of the joke.
But because at one point they turned off and he turned them back
onto blue.
He took time out of running away to sit down, have a breather. The most fascinating bit was there was more colours than just blue. Like that. I was like, there's more colours than just blue. He was flicking through them. There was red, there was yellow. I thought it was a bit green.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a bit boring to go for blue and blue, like
One of
spice it
each.
up, exactly.
I
Live a
also-
little, man.
The part because Jessica, the athlete, gets separated from the others with Kevin, who's the gay one, and Kevin hurts his ankle, and so Jessica and Kevin are sort of running away from the killer, and Kevin, who is sort of trailing behind a little bit, but with a very severe hurt ankle, was absolutely fine. And then the professional athlete, Jessica, was panting away, wasn't she? I was like, why is she so unfit?
I thought it was quite funny because she wasn't exactly getting very far away from Kevin either.
No.
Like, it looked like she was putting lots of effort into this running, but she wasn't really going anywhere. But back to my point about the characters. Obviously, you get introduced to these 5 characters plus the principal as well. So then the only other character we've seen is this caretaker.
Yeah.
And we see everyone else get killed, and they're trying to convince her. They're like, oh, who done it? Who could it be? And it's like, oh, it's the only other character that you saw in the film who saw that coming.
And yeah,
Like,
and it's just
if
like
they-
we made him quite creepy as well.
Yeah. It's like at no point did they send him away, or if they were like, oh, pick us up later on or something like that, and we see the bus driving away, for example, then fair enough. We think, oh right, that's him gone. See you later, mate.
Yeah.
It couldn't possibly be him. Who is the killer? Is it the girl that
Is it the
supposedly
ghost?
is it the ghost? Is it the ghost of the girl that supposedly killed herself, seeking revenge because these people bullied her? I've already written a better film.
Give us some money and we'll
Give us some money, we'll make this film, and it'll be better than this, and I'll direct it, and we can bin Blair off.
Sack it off.
Exactly, because Blair, you did a crap job, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the most profound film I've ever seen.
Do you think that he sat there at the end of the first viewing of this and went, I've done it.
This is it.
I've created my masterpiece.
I just feel like what happened was he made this as a joke, and then it got released, and then he has just sort of been swept along with it, and now it's the only film that he's ever been sort of recognised for. And he's like, oh no, what has happened?
He has made other films. Maybe
Yeah.
I feel as though I need to watch one of these other films now.
Yeah.
But I guess if you don't have very much money, it can be difficult. But then at the same time, I'm sure there have been great films made on small budgets. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse, Blair.
Blair, you've got no excuse.
But I mean, along with that Barrett line, I also wrote down a couple of other lines that really tickled me. So at one point, the characters in the film thought the principal was killing them, and proceeded to shout out, "Where are you, Principal Chicken Snot?" which really tickled me. And then at the end of the film, when it's revealed that it was the caretaker / janitor / maintenance man / van driver, he's a man of very many talents.
Yeah.
It's just a shame he's so crap at killing people. It was when it was revealed that it was him that gave them all detention. He also managed to sneak 50 possums into the school, so the school
That
would
was
be
the reason-
fumigated,
Yeah.
so that the detention would then be held at the local prison. I mean, why?
Bit of a stretch
Why
there,
exactly?
Mr. Hayes.
It's all a bit, I don't know, but yeah, his line at the end when he was strangling wannabe Megan Fox to death, he said, "Do you know how hard it is to sneak 50 possums into a school?" And
Completely seriously, like that was probably my favourite part of the entire film. I thought,
I mean,
What a line.
he did ask that question, and my instant reply was, "It's possibly not that difficult for you, because you've got keys, and you'll be there when no one else is there. So
I mean,
all
I
you
still-
need is 50 possums."
I feel like that's the hard part though, surely. It's getting the possums.
Yeah, okay,
50 of them.
maybe sneaking them into the school isn't the problem. It's collecting. It's
actually,
collecting the possums.
like, imagine scheming to do that. Like, I'm gonna kill 5 people. What do I need? I need some murder equipment. I need a place to murder them. I need 50 possums. Like, where in his sort of scheme?
That's just a classic murderer's list, is it not? If 50 possums isn't on your list of things you need to kill someone, then you're not doing it right. Maybe his theory was he was going to like grind the bodies down and then feed them
to the possums.
To the 50 possums afterwards.
Ooh.
Before releasing them into the wild.
That's pretty savage, I'd say. But
it wouldn't surprise me though. But
also,
he didn't even kill them properly.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. At the end of the film, it's revealed that they're all in the ER.
So it was
all for nothing.
All for nothing. Even, I mean, fancy going through all of that scheming and planning, and finding 50 possums.
Yeah, the trouble to find 50 possums.
And then not even killing people properly. I've never killed anyone, but.
It's not the way I'd choose.
But it felt as though, I don't know, I feel as though I could have done a better job than him.
I mean, I would have at least got 1.
Yeah, like to get none out of 5.
Not
It's a pretty poor
record,
attempt. I also, how did the principal survive? Because it felt like, I mean, they were saying that there was like a pool of blood coming underneath the door. And then she also got dragged away, and they were following this blood smudge on the floor of the corridor as well. Mm-hmm. It felt like a lot of blood. And then she was hanging up in one of the rooms as well.
Or like meat hooks.
Yeah, it was just she made a tough stuff. This woman.
She is. I quite liked her relationship with Lexi. I thought that was quite funny.
It felt forced, and
I
disgusting.
Mean, it did, yeah. I think the interactions they had were quite funny though.
Oh yeah, I mean, the interactions between the students and the principal were all quite funny. I think that was the only believable bit really in the whole film.
Yeah.
Was their reactions with her. Mainly because it was possibly because she's a bit older, so she's actually possibly acted in. She's possibly done acting where most of these other people haven't. I mean, I'd not really heard of any of them. I had a brief look at the other actors in the film and what they'd been in, and the only one was the bloke that played
Barrett.
The bloke that played Barrett, whose name is now completely eluding me. Henry Zaga. He was in New Mutants, which came out last year.
Oh yeah.
Which was also a steaming pile of poo. So he's got a trace. If that's anything to go by, then
don't watch any film that he's been in.
Just don't watch any film that any of these people have in. Don't watch any film that's been directed by Blair.
Yeah.
And you'll
just stay away if you can.
And you'll get along fine. Just just before we wrap this up, there's one more. I know what you're thinking. How can there be more that was wrong with this film? But at one point they were running away from Mr. Hayes, the caretaker / janitor / driver / murderer, and they were running away. And the so-called weird kid in inverted commas who was skateboarding, she had a skateboard under her arm when she was running away. One, why is it under your arm? Skateboard.
You'd get there a lot faster.
But they went up into the vent, or they went up into the ceiling to get away from the murderer, and they helped. Barrett helped everyone up through the vent, and this weird girl. I don't know her name. We'll call her weird girl. Taylor. It's unimportant.
It doesn't matter.
She gave him her skateboard. Made him so in the hierarchy of the group, it went everyone else, Taylor's skateboard, and then Barrett.
Yeah.
But it just felt like such a odd thing to need.
I feel like straight after that bit as well, spoiler alert, and not like the whole thing that we've just done is not filmed with them. But she is the first one to get killed.
Yeah,
or
so they carried her skateboard up there.
Yeah.
10 seconds later, she got stabbed.
The thing is though, the reason she got stabbed was because her shoelace got stuck on these pipes. And I was just thinking, why don't you just take the shoe off?
Yeah.
And just avoid that
And
altogether.
because I think it was Barrett that went back and was like, "Are you okay?" when her shoe was stuck.
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, I'm fine. Don't worry." And he was like, "Oh, okay."
And so he just left.
Which is fair enough. I mean, she said she was fine.
Yeah.
So
she wasn't.
we're all for strong, independent women here. So
Absolutely.
he didn't want to be deemed sexist and be helping her when she. No means no.
Exactly that. No means no, everyone. And I think on that note.
How many golden detentions would you give it out of 10?
I'd probably give it a 4.
Wow.
maybe a 3.5.
Okay, that's more acceptable.
Only because of the comedic parts in the last part of the film. They did bump the score. No, 4's way too generous. Actually, no, thinking about it, I was just trying to sort of reminiscing there. 4 is way
flashing the hour and a half film through your head in a matter of seconds,
Yeah.
and then like, did I just say 4?
Sorry, I meant 2.
I think I'd give it a 2, 2.5. I'd give it a 2.5.
Okay.
Just because of how funny it was,
I
but
think I'll
unintentionally funny.
round mine down to a 3. Round
Okay.
it down. And you're giving it a 2.5.
Yeah.
So what's that? 2.75.
Yeah, we'll give it a 2.75. That's the verdict. Obviously, watch the film, form your own opinions.
Absolutely. Let us know what you think.
It could be a.
Let Blair know what you think.
I'm sure he'll be very keen to. If you loved it, let him know.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure after this he doesn't
sure
need
someone out there
any
that'll
more
enjoy
abuse,
it.
does he? Yeah, there's going to be someone that loves it, but
Wasn't me.
that person's wrong.
That person has terrible taste in films.
Anyway, thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. And if you fancy going over to our socials, it's @Scope Movie on Twitter and @Moviescope the Pod on Instagram.